Okay, that should do it. Uh-huh. Howdy, Xavier. Hey, you Clow. Did you get around to checking out the Falling Beast Jaw skill that mentions gravitational lightning? No, I didn't. Thank you for the reminder. I gotta check that out. Been kind of distracted by Radon today. Loki, stop playing with dead people. It's becoming a concern. Listen, I'm not playing with them. I'm just, you know, observing. You know what I love more than those who live in death? Frickin' rot. Yeah, nothing really crazy here, huh? I forget, are there like double watchdogs or something in this area? Okay, so this is that. Hideaway. Oh, there's the catacombs here. Which, if I recall correctly, is basically just a circle. Though, hey, it would be interesting to see if we can get around the ballista shits. Loki just trying to impress me. Observing means looking, not touching, you pervert! Hey, I'm not touching. Do you see me touching any of these dead people with a 4-foot pole? No one's gonna get that joke. Right. Uh-huh. Ghosties! There we go. Yeah. Worth noting that they use the default skin in every way, so even the quote-unquote symbol on their chest is still burned, even though this is supposedly from the war before they did that. Just FYI. Alright, back to what I was looking at over here. Gosh, you know, for Radon not having much lore with Marika, he certainly does make the biggest statues of her for the catacombs. Though I guess it's technically not him, it's his soldiers, so... I mean, he had to approve the whole thing, right? Just because he's half crazy. Oh. I'm trying to make jokes here. Can we please do a funny? And not at my expense, please? Ow. Guess not. Alright, so we're going there. So yeah, in case you didn't notice from the title, we had Smotown come out with his Radon vid today. I'd love to congratulate him on it, but I apparently hit my DM limit on Twitter, not using the new name. Because I keep getting flooded with inbox of questions that I have to go through. Let's see. To be fair, though, it's mostly my fault because I don't answer things in, like, one big chunks of post. I like just, you know, kind of posting my immediate thoughts. You know, make it more like a conversation. As a result, I go through messages a lot faster. Who knew? I don't know why they choose to use realistic fly particles over the other one. Let's see. We already went through here. Nothing of concern. I actually don't remember how this catacomb plays out. And I know we, like, just did it on my other character. Hey, what do you mean by the fly particles? You mean for Godwin and stuff, Xavier? Okay, yeah, there's America statue there. There's this here. Oh yeah, I think it's just basic. You pull the lever, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember now. Ow. Skeletons! You're so big! Remember the 2 particles for flies? Yeah. I remember. So you have issue with the realistic ones being used? Church of Pilgrimage, Seaside Ruins, Limwood Grave, Growside Cave, Stormfoot Catacombs. You know, this is really small. Murkwater Catacombs, I still remember decently well. High Road Cave, Saints Bridge, Death Touch Catacombs, we went yesterday, I'm pretty sure. Liurnia Lakeshore, Cliff Bottom, and Road's End, I decently remember. Boyle Prawn Shack, Academy Gate Town. Okay, where are the other catacombs? Are there any here? There's just the one in this corner that we went to, the other, yeah. So we already went to Black Knife, we already went here, we already went to... any other catacombs? Nope, okay. Then we have Wyndham, which we went through. Sage's Catacombs, Altus Plateau. No, it's not Hero's Grave, I know that. Oh, we know how this goes, we know how this goes. We know how Langdale Catacombs goes. Your guys' obsessive flower talk got me into looking at flowers in game, and at least in Lingrave, there's one goddamn that light purple flower that fucking that's fucking everywhere. Sorry, Kyle, that took me a while to process because I was trying not to laugh while reading it, but okay. Yeah, there's some flowers which are like, okay, these are pretty sure these are generic, right? Like, you see them like everywhere. There's not really a pattern to them. It just seems to be like, oh, this is like Limgrave or Frontier flower or something, right? Nothing here, nothing here. Giant's Mountaintop Catacombs, we know the bottom part has some of that. Foot in the Forge, Fire Giant. Giant's Grave Post, White Ridge, Spirit Caller Cave. Okay, then I think I've covered all the catacombs. Don't tell me it's like Hidden Path of the Halig Tree. No, it can't be. It's not Sainted Hero's Grave. I could have swore, chat, there was like this additional... Like, God, I hope it wasn't like something I dreamed one day and that like just got stuck in my memory or something. That would really suck. It's curious how these graves are so unique from all the others, huh? I don't think we see these grave models used anywhere else for the catacombs, at least. Oh. Actually, can I lead you guys down here? I actually want to look at that stuff, so... Yeah, I don't see any specific symbol on there, so... Yeah, get all the way over, thank you. There is water down here, which I guess could explain the octopi. Octopuses, my bad. Could you explain the dream so we can figure out if the catacombs exist? So there's a few catacombs where the gimmick is that they have like repeating floors that kind of trick you into thinking that you're like on the same floor, right? So we see that type of motif done in the Lingdell catacombs, as well as the Ariz Doom. And I actually discussed this in my Godfrey doc, and this seems to be because they're connected directly to Oh, we also see a little bit of it in, where is it called? The Giant Mountaintop Catacombs, like the bottom half portion. Anyway, I think, or was it the top? It was one of the two. Anyway, the point is that there are some catacombs which have this sort of specific flair to them, and that seems to more or less... Oh, you know what? I think I remember which one it is. Church of the Repose? It was the Giants Conquering Heroes grave, was it? I have to double check right now, but we'll see. I think it was this one. Or maybe I'm thinking Giants Mountaintop Catacombs. Anyway. The point is that these catacombs have a certain flair to them, which I argue is because they were designed by America, right? America's established with the Veil of Mischief, is it called in English? Anyway, the basically her prank veil, where she sort of establishes herself as a very mischievous, whimsical woman. And so we can kind of see this in sort of the almost cruel, prankish nature of these catacombs, and to a lesser extent the Ariza hero's grave. Which makes sense, because, you know, Godfrey's out fighting, and she's stuck there having to make all the burial plots back in Lingdell when they're establishing everything, right? So... yeah, no... Giants here... Got the Two Fingers banner. Oh, sorry. Uh-huh. Got them buried with their swords. Octoputhy. How's the astrologer doc going? It's basically still in outline form right now, Nardi, because of my work on Godefroy, and Godric, obviously the Godfrey stuff. Oh. Oh. I forgot you guys have poise. Anyway, and now Radon is also on the docket. Thankfully, Radon will be incredibly short compared to some of these other ones. But yeah, I'm also working through the data on my astrologer stuff still, so that's a positive. Yeah, I think I might have misremembered the other. I'm not seeing a lot of that same trickeries there. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that didn't bring you up. I guess it has to be the player, huh? Huh. Thought that would have brought up the pillar. There you are. Ow. Oh, it doesn't work because the holes... Okay, I get it. It's not complete. That's why it looks fuzzy. Oh well, not that I care. Hello, sir. Ow. Ow. Oh no. It's actually rather surprising. This one has to be the hero's grave with like the least number of America statues. I wonder if that's a reflection of the fact she doesn't like giants, even if they're trolls. Yeah, and then this is all standard stuff. Nothing fancy here. Yes, I probably just gaslit myself. Anyway, there's the realistic one, like in the Bloodfire Incantation and Deathblight. Then there's the unrealistic ones around Godwyn, the corpses around Dung Eater, the ants, and Haley Tree Candles. I see. So you feel like it's kind of all backwards, which ones they decide were the realistic ones or not, right? So you feel like probably at least the unrealistic ones should at least be like consistent across, like, say, the unnatural context, and then the natural ones should be there in the natural context, right? Like having all the death blights at least be one or the other. Yeah, I can agree with you. That is a bit odd, but it could be one of those things where maybe they had a placeholder model and they forgot to change it for all the situations. Or again, it's such a small detail that perhaps, like, you know, they just weren't consistent about it and didn't care after a certain point. There's a lot more of these America statues, though, here, so maybe it's just that we had to get to toward the bottom. Cave of the Forlorn. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm just misremembering something. Hey, Earthmind, welcome on in. Hello, finally catching a live stream. Well, congrats. Glad to have you here. Yeah, America's Mischief. Thank you, Nardi. Thank you, Chaotic. Alrighty, let's see. Maybe we should switch over to Barbarian Man and start doing some general searches. Okay, I'm trying to also think. Radon's cookbooks. I'm gonna need that to know there. So we got one here, one with the like merchant who's like here or something. One from the merchant who's like starving over here. There's 7 in total, right? So, oh, one in like Shifra, right? So it's like around like here or something, right? So that's 4. Then 2 in Castle Redmane. That's 6. And then the final at Fort Lyde. Okay, I think I've got that all figured out in my head, chat. This is gonna be cool. We're gonna be talking about sort of ancillary Radon lore. I'm not even sure if this would even make it in my Radon analysis, but I'll try. Where do we want to go? We'll go to Church of Vows. That was what I wanted to do originally anyway. I was discussing with Teen Sith earlier about how the primeval current could be a river flowing from the sun to the moon, life to death. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. I think the primeval current is supposed to be, though, the actual like source of the primeval current. I think it's supposed to be the void of space, if I recall correctly, though. Like, don't quote me on that. I have to double check some of the item text. But if I recall correctly, that's the idea that, like, Stars of Ruin, Estelle, etc. seem to kind of make a point, is that the flow of the stars all stems from the black void of space. And that, like you said, it sort of flows like a river, it seems. And it seems to kind of, like, flow into this vast ocean that is, well, space. Alright, there's inherent darkness. Anyway. The unrealistic flies around Dung Eater's corpse in the Round Table Hold are pitch black, in case you were wondering, unlike Godwyn's gray and the others are gold. Gold flies, isn't that something to think about? What, did they eat too much gold excrement? Yeah, there's one you grab in Shifra, yeah. We got that in the Shifra. Anyway, so Agarthy, Arganthi, I forget what her name is. Where is she? Here. So we got the leader of the Flame Watchers slash Guardians, right? So here's their castle, right? So this is where she operates. She has all these prelates, these bishops that work under her. These prelates are sort of supposed to be like monitors of the flame. They learn all the secret. They learn all the good secret incantations regarding Giant's Flame, right? But they're supposed to, of course, keep that stuff, you know, secret, especially considering that it reveals facts like, hey, the Fell God is actually not really dead, right? That's supposed to be apparently very closely guarded. So, but one of the prelates decides to take one of the arts from that knowledge, from those scriptures, and books it all the way out to Liurnia, where this former prelate seems to lock himself in a never jail. Presumably to escape from his pursuers who come after him. Also, who the hell died? Anyway. Oh. Pardon me. You don't see me. Anyway. Well, there was a problem I had with this situation we had here, where we had, of course, these guys here. Now, it seems that Arganthi let them take all their giant face tanks with them and leave. But I had a bit of a problem with all this. For one, why do we see no prelate here? We see a bunch of the basic mooks, right? The sinners, the guilty. We see the flame slugs. I guess they wanted to bring their pets. We see, of course, oh, and their tents are red. That's cool. Anyway, we see the actual flame guardians, the watchers, right? With their big maces and stuff. So we see some of them, but we don't see the prelate, who you would presume would be leading this in order to, you know, capture the other prelate, because you don't want to have that information leak. So why are you going to send people without a prelate to do the job or to help out or whatever, to manage things, keep things under control so the problem doesn't get worse, right? So I had a bit of an issue. I was like, where's the prelate? Well, then I was thinking, oh, so the prelate moved all the way over to Limgrave, right? Because as we saw in like that other stream we did, there were these same fire slugs somewhere east here, like, I forget if I think it was like something like here or back here, one of the two, right? But basically it was somewhere around the bridge, right? Right next to the bridge, which gives you the idea, okay, yeah, they could like have camped, they could have like camped out, right? And then these guys left. So there'd be the idea that, okay, in Limgrave, in Liurnia, the prelate leads the people down from the mountaintops all the way over to here. They do the search because this is where there was a last sighting of our malefactor. Then when our malefactor has been sort of identified and stuff. Well, he could have escaped. Just because you last saw him here doesn't mean he's still here. He might have gone further south into Limgrave and beyond, right? So our esteemed prelate is like, okay, I'll leave you guys here to continue the search and try to find him. Meanwhile, I will continue down south and try to confirm that he isn't anywhere over on the frontier, right? So prelate leaves and goes there, and we can kind of get an idea of the travel path by the fire slug that is like here. Then, if we try to follow this pathway from going along the the northeast end of Liurnia, going from here all the way this direction, of course we arrive at Caelid. Now in Caelid, we of course get to the Keelam ruins, where we find a bunch of the fire tanks, which as we just saw, were used by the prelate. Well, that's interesting. We also get, if I recall correctly, a scarab here who drops an Ash of War related to the Flame Guardians. And we also find, I want to say a spell or something, something related, I think, to them additionally to that. But anyway, these different points together seem to suggest, okay, so it looks like there was a prelate here. This prelate saw the rot that's spreading and was like, oh, Well, we have fire. We can help you here. You seem to really like getting rid of rot with fire. We'll help you out, right? And then the prelate, though, is not here. So did the prelate die, and all that's left are the tanks? That was one of my initial thoughts. Okay, so the prelate and the others came here, and then they just suddenly died. Well, something today I found right before streaming sort of flipped that idea on its head. And I thought, oh, okay. Prelate comes down from the mountaintops, travels down here, ends up in Caelid, and then dies. What if the prelate didn't die, but once again, the prelate leaves behind these tanks? We also see the visage shield in the guarded by the two pumpkin heads underground here, right? So again, given the idea that, yeah, just leaving a bunch of stuff for them to use for their fire defense and all that, right? So maybe he left a few other mooks there who died again in the Caelid thing or whatever, right? Again, hence the Ash of War. The point is that the prelate actually didn't die here, but actually left, in fact, left with one of Radahn's armorers, the one who owns the Armor Cookbook 7, and this prelate took the remaining forces, ignored the Lyrian persons, because you know what? Finding this malefactor doesn't matter anymore. What's important is stopping the rot in Caelid. So we're going to ignore our original mission, finding the thief, and go all the way to Fort Light. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Who put the Adon the malefactor into his ever jail? Well, Cloud, again, what I said earlier was my gut assumption was that he did it to himself, right? He's trying to escape pursuit, so he's like, okay, I'll hide by locking myself up in this ever jail. Now, does that sound like a very smart plan? No, I don't think so. But when you're desperate, you know, you're gonna do anything you can to try to stay alive and hidden, right? Anyway, as we can see, again, more fire tanks. More of these sinners and stuff, and they're killing the people in Fort Lyde. All of... Yeah, you can faintly see the Erdtree cross on this stuff. Killing good old Morgoth's forces of Leyndell here. And what do you find inside here? Except a prelate. In fact, the unique prelate, who doesn't wear the red cloth symbolizing like their watch and protection over the flame, right? The giant's flame. This person has forsaken that caution against fire, because this is the prelate who went all the way down to Caelid, saw what was going on there, and was like, no, whatever the dangers of flame, the rot is much worse and must be dealt with, and flame is the only way to stop it. So this guy got rid of his red cloth and has come all the way over to Gelmir, presumably in search of more firepower, in order to improve Radahn's arsenal. Hence why we find, I forget if it's like down here, I think it's like this corpse or something. We get the Armor's Cookbook 7, which is from Radahn, and naturally has the Giant's Flame Pot, because again, you have one of Radahn's armors, who again is studying flame and stuff, goes with these prelates, who are going to go look for more firepower, and along the way, of course, writes down the recipe for the Giant's Flame Pot that they would know and have knowledge of, so that way, when they get back to Caelid, they can be able to teach that to the others, right? As we know, we have all these, of course, Leyndell soldiers and stuff that are dead, but the chest seems to be emptied. I think, if I recall correctly, this is the... Do we have it? I don't think we have it. But it's basically my... I think it's the fire version of my magic. Where is it? Yeah, the fire version of my magic scorpion charm, so, like... that this guy steals away and hides with, right? I'll soon be back in Volcano. Right. So it seems to be the idea that these Leyndell soldiers basically had their fort and stuff attacked because they were keeping this special talisman that the prelate probably wanted to get his hands on. Right. Well, your story ends here. Never going back to Caelid. Do these guys usually start the fight doing the volcano head move? Not always. Yeah, I don't recall starting the fight doing that before, but it's been a while since I lost fight with them. I thought they did it like as a mid health bar type thing. I guess not. It also makes sense if the moon eclipsing the sun is draining the gold from it. It's basically sucking the souls out of it with the best blowjob in the universe. Well, we haven't been able to see the eclipse, right? Like, that's sort of the problem. They're not able to get the eclipse to appear. So, I mean, yeah, I'm actually curious about that with the cosmology and stuff. But that's an interesting idea, draining the gold from, you could even say it's being made somber. Faded. Color strained, yeah. It's possible that the void is a spirit realm and the primeval current is the flow of life into death, which is why Radon cock-blocking has disastrous consequences for the astrologers. That's an interesting idea. Because I'm trying to think of a situation where I'd be like, yeah, disastrous for the astrologers. I mean, it definitely is an impediment, at the very least. And it's definitely disastrous for Ronnie. I definitely agree with you, the idea that the cosmos and the spirit realm are probably synonymous. At the very least, the spirit realms, I assume, are like some sort of dimension within the greater cosmos. Yeah, so that would be the path here. We have from the mountaintops down to Liurnia, leave some people behind, goes all the way to Caelid, leave some people behind, goes all the way back to the plateau, to Gelmir, and then that's where we see their story end up. The gold unrealistic ones are the ones by the ant tunnel corpses, the hailing tree candles, and the spirit candle trees. The ant tunnel corpses. The only thing I could think of that could connect to is because the corpses come from the nameless eternal city. That's the only thing I could think of to explain that gold. Actually, I want to check that out real quick and make sure it's not a lighting trick, right? Ainsel River Sluice Gate. Ainsel River downstream. I think this will do, right? They didn't seem too happy about him stopping the stars, Lamau. What did they not seem too happy about, exactly? Enlighten me. Because I'm trying to think. Again, I'm working on the Radon stuff right now, and I can't think of a thing where it was like, oh, they don't seem too happy. Again, Rodney, I understand. But I'm trying to think of, like, astrologers, like, generally. Right, I don't have the horse here. I keep thinking this is like Shifra. Basically, froze the stars to continue even further to the lands between ever-growing stasis issue. Well, I agree with the stasis issue in general. I just am trying to think of more like concrete consequences than just saying, well, in general, there's the stagnation, right? Like I understand the stagnation as like the general theme. What I find interesting about the Radon thing is that it would seemingly help us date different events, right? Like I was talking about earlier, how I don't quite buy the idea that the Farmazula destruction happened earlier than the ancient, later than the ancient Dragon War, and I think Radon helps with that because if Radon is sealing the stars' movements and preventing falling stars from being a thing, then there could have been a falling star that destroyed Farmazula, you know, and made it, you know, crumble constantly, as we see. After Radon seals the stars' movements. So it's like, okay, then that has to, like, and keep in mind, like, Radon's doing this, like, fairly early in Radigan's reign, so, like, that means that that's a huge swath of time that we can X out, in terms of analysis. So it's like, okay, we can basically ignore that era as any possibility to even consider then, right? Estelle is still kind of an open question, because Estelle, there's the whole, what is it, Void, no, Eternal Darkness, that's the right. So yeah, there's the Eternal Darkness sorcery opens the possibility that even after it opens the possibility of Estelle being able to come out of the portal of eternal darkness, right? Outside of the void, right? The actual darkness, right? It's the spawn of the darkness after all, right? So the idea is that they would create this giant portal, and then like, yeah, suck us up, take us back to the night, to sky, blah, 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 right? Like all this. But then instead, Estelle comes popping out of that darkness instead of them getting sucked in. And as we can see, that results in the total destruction, right? So that could be a workaround when it comes to timing the Eternal City's destruction. Hey, John, good to see you. Hey there, what coming in star hot? As you can see, me dying. I came in star hot right there. I just went vroom and crashed like a meteor straight into that water. I think we have to go further up if I want to find those. There were flies in that room. Oh, okay. I did not spy them. Probably because I'm talking to chat and not paying attention as much as I should. Alright, back we go. One of the Graven School tells us talks about being seeds of stars. English text, yes, I believe the Japanese use the same exact terminology. I think it's something to that effect, yeah. So maybe they just want to become stars. It could be harder to happen if there are no star showers. That's true. There are definitely a number of primeval current sorcerers who, well, if there's no current flow, again, keep in mind, primeval current literally means source flow, and the Japanese terminology means, like, headwaters. Now, idiomatically, it's used all the time to mean stuff beyond just, like, the headwaters of a river, okay? Right? It's used to... Okay, I see them now. I thought these were just, like, regular, like, light particles, but no, these are... Okay, I see them now. Yeah, like, I'm trying to see if I can maybe get an angle which might... No, these definitely just look like they're plain gold, or at least a bright yellow, so... Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Is this stuff affected by lighting at all? Like, are these effects, like, influenced in that way? Because if so, then we could maybe make an argument there's a possible lighting thing going on with all these, like... Damn, I can't break it. With all these lamps and stuff. But outside of that, I can't think of anything else to, like, be like... Okay, this could be something else. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward in that way. Could be a lighting issue? Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to consider, Clow. If you have a glowstone... Ooh, thank you. It's always the glowstones, chat. Thank you for reminding me that glowstones exist. Alright, so let's see. To be honest, I don't know if there's actually enough difference. They still look pretty yellow gold to me. Yeah, they still look pretty yellow to me. Selin, for instance, is incapable of tapping into it with Radon still around. She also quite literally states that the stars hold residual life and such. Oh, I forget. I don't think that's quite what she says. I have to double check her dialogue to be like super exact though. But yes, the glintstone is I believe is the residual life of the stars, right? Because it's part of the stars, they come falling down, and what's left over is the glintstone in the wake of their, well, crash into Earth, right? Yeah, so I think that is what she says, if I remember correctly. Which, hey, my goldfish memory, who knows? They're bugs, anything about them? We're trying to figure out, if they really are gold. Because as Xavier's pointing out, there's some oddities with, like, how there's, like, two different types of flies, and some of them look more natural than others. Also, I love how this still kind of... this still kind of works with my idea of saying, oh, hey, look, we're still checking crypts. We're just looking at the flies in this kind of burial pile. Or like a dining hall, but... Yeah, I think these are still gold. So yeah, I think you're right, Xavier. I think these are just plain old gold flies being used here. Radon is against the astrology nonsense. No, but yeah, you're right, Chaotic. At least for primeval sorcerers like Selen, yeah, Radon is probably pretty disastrous for them, because they're all about trying to become stars, enjoying the flow, and if you're a primeval current sorcerer, you need a current. Yeah. But yeah, the idea of a river, I think, is a fair statement, because again, primeval current itself means like the headwaters, the implication being a river. But I think the headwaters, the primeval current, this source flow, the source of the flow, is the... I think it's the void of space, specifically. But I have to double check. I think that's in some of the Lusat items, if I recall. Quick check on the vines before we go. Yes, that's silver. Other gold ones are around Haley Tree candles. Like, yeah, those I could be like, okay, maybe those are just lighting, right? But I guess it depends on whether or not we can break the candles without the flies disappearing, huh? Just want to make sure we don't see any roots or anything. Like giant Erd tree type roots. Well. So faded Erdleaf flower because of the, Wait. Erdleaf flowers require falling leaves of the Erd tree. That's why they're called fallen leaf flowers in Japanese. And they fade because of the rot, which makes sense here. But then... Erd tree leaves? Down here? Maybe there were branches that grew out, but they've been rotted down, so we don't see them anymore. And they had flowers, leaves or something that fell. Huh. Maybe there used to be a minor Erd tree down there? That, like, I considered that for a brief second, but I'm like, would we not see anything of it? Like, we wouldn't see a stump even? Like, maybe. Because we find Erdleaf... Do we find Erdleaf flowers commonly, like, around minor Erd trees, too? Like, is that something where you'll see a large number of them compared to other areas around those? I actually don't remember, because I haven't... Crab, you know what? You should check that now. Yeah, let's go down here where the ulcerated tree spirit is, just to double check. At the very least, we know that there's something Erd tree related that's going on down here. At least before the rot set in. Hey, Joel. There aren't any underground minor Erd trees, right? Again, not that we're aware of. But I think this is the only area underground where we get faded Erdleaf flowers. And we have the ulcerated tree spirit, which appears at the end of this river, right? Right at the bottom here. That's where it spawns in. So it seems like there's some sort of Erd tree roots flowing beneath here. That would also explain the basilisks, right? Because we find basilisks at the very end of the cavern stuff leading to there. As well as the... as well as in this area with the Lake of Rot, which is like, okay, yeah, because if basilisks are spawns of Deathblight, right? Like, all those Godwin eyes eventually grow into a basilisk. Then, okay. That would make sense, then. With the idea that there's a bunch of Erd tree roots here. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there's any... Good to know. Good to know. There are the phantom trees down here. Oh! Are there? I don't remember. Do we find some of those here? Like, are you talking about the Lake of Rot specifically, or just the underground in general? Because there may be some in the underground I don't remember for sure. I can believe that. Huh. Anyway, I think Mikola found a way to tap into the primeval current through dreaming instead of doing the old-fashioned way. Hence why he brought Academy sorcerers to his tree. Ooh, that's an interesting idea, Nardi. Can't wait to see if the Can't wait to see if the DLC is able to confirm your theory. Or at least add to it. Yeah, now we found another one here. Right, so faded earthly flower. Oh. Yeah, there's nothing here except... Yeah, there's nothing here except the wall and stuff, right? So, it's something underground, mostly. But it somehow is generating these flowers. I don't think we see this here, but let me double check. I took screenshots of this place like months ago. Phantom Tree in Noxtella. Gotcha, thank you, Nardi. So there is one in Noxtella. So that does at least support the idea that the seeds can find their way down here and then grow a minor Erd tree, potentially. That would then connect to Erd tree roots. That is possible. You think, with all the leaves that we clearly see falling down here, we might see some earthly flowers then. But we don't. At least not so far. But let's keep looking. Its placement at the bottom of a waterfall may be imply the remains flow down there. The problem is we see the spirit like rumble under the ground and come up. So I'm not sure if that necessarily would imply that so much as maybe that the Erd tree roots were parallel with the river flow. Or maybe it followed the river flow for one reason or another. But yeah, it's definitely to think about. Remains of a minor Erd tree that... Oh, I see what you mean. You think that, oh, there was a minor Erd tree, but then it flowed, all those pieces flowed down, and maybe they got, like, buried underground or whatever, and that became the tree spirit. I mean, it's possible. The thing with the tree spirits is we do see them kind of manifest out of thin air in some cases, so it's not always obvious if they are... if they're, like, if they're born from something physical originally, or if, you know, they're just a spirit that takes on a physical tree form. Similar to the Erd tree avatars, right? Yeah, I see a lot of dew-kissed herba, but not a whole lot of earthly flowers. Just lots of leaves, though. Lots and lots of leaves. Lots of leaves. Mikola will be the key to Loki's fanfiction. Listen, my waifu is gonna have all the good lore. He's gonna dump it all over you, chat. He's just gonna go over, unzip it, and immediately just splurge all that good lore all over you. And then you're gonna love him for it. Then you're all gonna be regretting making fun of me for dumping Thea for my good femboy Mikola. Mikola won't betray us, I promise you. Watch, he's not gonna really add much of anything new to the lore. I'm all gonna be like, fuck, Mikola sucks! Now Ensha's my new waifu. Loki, no! Carl, no! Heading out. Lots of luck finding those leaves. Thank you, Clow. Have a good one. Didn't there used to be some kind of tree? Are we talking about the great tree theory, I am? We don't follow that here. I don't, at least. The crones are the true waifus. Your fingers! Lend me your fingers! Oh! Oh! Yeah. Sure, the crones. Would literally rather shit in my hand and clap than have Mikola be your new obsession. Please, God, no! Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to be focusing on Miquella lore until the DLC comes out. I've already decided. I'm not going to waste my time trying to analyze stuff and try to understand all the little nuances if we're just going to have the DLC, like, flat out, like, confirm a lot of that stuff anyway, one way or the other, right? So it's like, why am I going to, like, overuse my brain on those areas when I can do it in parts of the lore that are probably not going to be covered in the DLC? But until then, memes! Miquella, my baby, my child, my babe. No! Okay, at least I'm not dead. It's fine, I didn't want to see God win anyway. Yep, no leaves here. I just realized this place is absolute hell. Who would ever want to willingly come into that little house? Holy hell. Why would you have 12 of them all in one little location? Miyazaki, you're evil. Elfin Great Tree, Elfin Great Tree, Elfin Great Tree. Now that's where I go, please God, no. Ah, we do see a little bit of infrastructure here, huh? That's kind of neat. I guess these would be the equivalent of the shacks we see outside of some other villages. Hey, Erdtree, how you doing? Looking old? Let's see. Yeah, like, so he basically made a giant slumbering egg for himself to toe the line of death with a deep dreaming sleep, similar to Lusat's Lustrous state. Hence why Trina is connected to dreams and Miquella is associated with guiding lost souls. I could see that. I've already said it before. I assume we're going into Miquella's dream. Miquella's dreams are part of the spirit realm. It's going to connect to the cosmos and the stars more generally, and fate and things of that nature. Again, I haven't gone too deep into cosmology to kind of work out exactly how it all connects, but I feel there's enough there to already insinuate it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ah! The floor saved Loki. I need someone to identify the type of plants that are unique to those three minor Erd trees. Again, I would really, I'm gonna do more Elden Ring stuff, and once like I start building up the Elden Ring content on my channel, I'm gonna make the shout out for people if they're with all the new. I'm getting like, my notifications for Twitter, I'm not using the new name, is have been going crazy lately. So I can only imagine there's a lot of new followers from people that are interested in me doing ER content. And with that in mind, I'm very interested in hopefully having some people who are good at coding that we can shout out to be like, hey, do that thing that I really want. I'll promise I'll QA test it. QA test it. I'll even stream it, so that way it's all out there for you, and we can have the best little asset map for the entire game. Then Xavier will never have to worry about figuring out where flowers are being used and for what purpose. I gotta go up there. Yeah, see, we have, like, branches with, like, these leaves sticking out. We see this above ground in Lindell, too. So, same exact idea. There we go. The only thing different about these branches is they have the red flowers, which I assume comes from, like, the original when it was the Crucible, right? So a lot more, like, Crucible stuff would be, quote-unquote, growing here. Though, strangely, we don't see lots of arterial leaves, but then again, we don't see a lot of fallen leaf, Erd leaf flowers here either, so I guess Miyazaki and Co. just decided they didn't want to make those commonplace here, I suppose. Yep, they're nowhere to be found. We have not found a single giant bright glowing flower of the Erd Tree variety. How very unfortunate. Hi, Erd Tree. There you go. One giant Erd Tree. And it sticks out over here. Kind of crazy to think about. And then you got all these ancillary branches and crap, right? Flying ant, what the fuck? Then what tiny, insignificant details will I obsess over? Like those gosh darn purple crystals and nascent butterflies. Yeah, imagine actually knowing where all the nascent butterflies are and we can just go and see them for ourselves. That'd be crazy. Don't worry, Xavier. We all will find our new obsessions. The obsessive will always find something new to latch onto. Also, I still have no goddamn clue why the Carians are using blue candle flames in the rise in their catacombs. Are using blue candle flames or aren't? Because I know we had this conversation before about why the hell would they use normal candles if they can clearly use magic candles? Like, why not do magic candles everywhere? Which I think is a very valid question. I told you there's a tree. Well, yeah, there's a tree, but we're talking about like the Erd Tree, but yeah. Okay, so they do have the blue flames, but like I think there's like other places that just use normal fire, right? Is that like the academy, for example? That's a random academy place. You guys church the cuckoo? It's just them. It's just catacombs and the where is it? Yeah, catacombs and the rises. Look at that! Look at that, chaotic. Yeah, you know? Listen, just because it's an academy full of sorcerers doesn't mean they can all be wasting their FT, all their focus, on non-magic flames. That stuff takes a lot of time and energy. They'd rather be spending that focus on their studies, so they use wax. That would be funny if that's actually the lore. It's like, oh. They just couldn't be bothered. They had to focus on studying sorcery. They'll just dish out the dough to pay for all that candle wax. We got Renala looking over all these. I know some people have thought this may be the other Carian princesses, right? I forget what item comes here. I guess we should have good old barbarian man come to Rhea Lucaria and start investigating with his hammer club. Birds. It fills me with rage! Hello? What is this area? Oh my god, Nardi, you didn't know about this? This is behind an illusory wall, Chaotic. You gotta break this illusory wall and you'll find it. I think you can also drop down here from one of the rooftops. I think that's possible. What the fuck, Loki? How do you keep finding these places? I don't know, I think for the Let's Play for this, wasn't it, like, absolutely accidental? Like, I think I walked in and I, like, was trying to avoid the enemy and I accidentally, like, rolled back into this or some shit. I remember doing that for one place. I know that was the Celia hideaway. I'm not sure about this one. Maybe I found it, like, in a separate instance or whatever. But yeah, this exists with a bunch of coffins, with good old witches, witch statues. And then you got the big witch statue over here, which may, again, probably Renala, like in other instances. And then these, I assume, would represent, at least I know many people theorize, represent Carian princesses. And then we have the similar coffins that exist. Yeah, here's the grave thing. Similar ones that exist by the classrooms. Crying and throwing up. This is so unfair. Yep, we're at the point where I do not care about the ER questions being asked whatsoever. Lol, still having fun, though. That's fine, John. we're at the wonderful stage in ER where finally people are starting to kind of move on and like think over other stuff, and I could just kind of casually like catch up before the DLC shows up. Yeah, and then you got these same exact ones used here with this. Actually, these no, they still have the book. Yeah. Then you got this. How about this one, Chaotic? Did you find this secret room? Lazuli Glintstone Sword. You get an item here, I forget what it is. It's probably an arterial leaf. Hey Tops, how you doing? Here's a question, who's Rosas? I would like to know that too, John. Like, Rosas is apparently this quote-unquote guide of the dead, but he looks like he's like half turtle. Is he half turtle? I don't know. I'm hoping the DLC might answer that question, because if he has to do with the dead and Gaiju and shit like that, it'd be nice if the DLC did something with him. God, I remember when I hated this area. I still do. Yep, still hate this area. Hello, sir. Hello, Sir Pot. Sir Jarman. I remember this being bigger. It may be bigger than the standard one. At least its stand is definitely bigger. But it's not as big as some of the ones we've seen before. Is that Renala's staff? Is that just straight up Renala's moon staff without, like, its gemstone or something? Hang on. 1 second. I don't have her staff on me, unfortunately. More witch the Jews. So we got our twin boys. We got our himbos. Lusat and Asur. We got our devices for reading the stars. Ain't that a gargoyle? We got our staves without their stone. Good old staves. Anyway, I'm pretty much done here. Loki is committing the Academy genocide. Listen, they basically were genociding themselves. Just a bunch of men stuck in a small building together. There ain't no long-term survival there. Abandoned coffin, craftsman shack, abductor village, Gilmere Hero's grave, old Wolf's tunnel. We've checked the tunnels. We have Bourne Tunnel, yep. We have Limgrave Tunnel. We have Gale Tunnel. We have Celia Crystal Tunnel. We have the Celia Hideaway. Honestly, a lot more than I was expecting. We have the Ray Lucaria Crystal Tunnel. I think that's it in terms of... Oh, no, wait. We also have the Academy Crystal Cave here, which is kind of like a tunnel. Kind of. Not really, but it has lots of crystal, at least. The Ravine Veiled Village with the rune strip. Is this really a village? I don't remember this being a village. It's lighter blue, though. Such a shame there's not a lot of lizard people. Yeah, unfortunately I am. There's just not a lot of your kind. No Age of Crystal sorry, Age of Crystal Religion. Age of Crystal Lizard happening in this universe. So all these guys grow big like in Caelid, right? I guess the idea would be that they are the ones eating the most quote-unquote nutrients that come down from the waterfall in this river ravine, right? And then they grow bigger than the rest. I don't know what that would imply for Caelid then, where everything's giant, where everything's Texas-sized. Yeah, the only way I consider this a quote-unquote village is if we're including the mining stuff up there, right? Because then there's like people who are like living and working the mines. They have like a worship little altar church thing going. Then I could be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a village, but I have to check the Japanese, make sure that the localization's not pulling a fast one on us. Clever Miyazaki, never have us actually seen the bottom of the waterfall. Because you didn't render it. Ow! Oh. Royal Family Graveyard. I'm telling you, the rot mutates as much as it eats away at things. I still don't buy it. I'm telling you, Nardi. It predates the rot. Because, again, I'm telling you, giants, they bring their dog, they bring their pet dogs, crows, and I guess there's that one giant one all the way up here. And these things are there far and away from the rot. And keep in mind, this rot appears long after the land bridge from Farmazula is gone, right? So I don't think it has anything to do with, like, mutating or anything like that. I think it's purely a matter of... oh, hey. Stuff grows big in Caelid, and then it migrates. Except for maybe in Liurnia, where it may be due to other factors relating to all that crystal lacing the river. And these guys just gobble up most of it, and then the rest of it becomes those traces that eventually pile up and, you could say, stagnate and accumulate to form the crystals that we're familiar with. Naturally, sorcerers and some basics. Oh, we got the Gravekeepers. Oh, okay. Then we got some wolves, and I think... yeah, these are all like the big wolves, and there's the wolf of Radigan that is here, right? Got some blue flowers here. So the generic, like, grassy kind of flowers that we see around. How'd you like Smotown's Redown video? I liked it. I disagree with it in a lot of points, but I've said that I think for almost every Smotown video. But yeah, I think it was very well done. The only thing I would really critique is I feel like he didn't need to go into the huge side like tangent with Celia. I think he really just wanted to talk about Celia, and he wanted to include that in there because he really didn't need to go into all that detail. Like, we're just told, okay, there's a Alabaster Lord or whatever at Celia. Okay, like, you just gotta kind of cite that, and that's kind of the end of the story, right? Like, you don't need to come up with this big backstory about, okay, well, explaining the, trying to explain the gravity magic there, and why the Alabaster Lord is there, which, hey, I would love it if he could, but then when he actually goes into the explanation, not only is it seeming to take up a huge chunk of his video time, which is like, what, like an hour, 20 minutes or something? It also is, well, based on a few misinformation. I already talked about on Twitter, not using the new name, the meteor thing with the Olivinus crown that he cites, being like, oh, look, see, this is proof that before he was a primeval sorcerer, Lusat was actually a meteor sorcerer, like the meteor stuff at Celia. Well, there's a problem. The term used for meteor there by the localization is actually shooting star, or again, to be more literal, flowing star, much like the primeval currents or primeval flow. But again, that's a side point. The point that I'm trying to make is, it's all the stuff that's the same as the primeval current sorcerer, and it's the same term used for all the quote-unquote star sorceries. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything special here, so I think we're pretty much good. Anyway, so the meteor sorceries tend to use English written in katakana, right? So meteor actual uses term for meteor or meteorite, etc., things of that nature. Yeah, so just the blue flowers. Nothing else special I'm seeing. These aren't the glowing blue, right? Yeah, they don't glow, I don't think. The blue's just bright, right? Yeah, they don't have the same glow that we see with, like, Kari's Study Hall and stuff. Celia's a fun topic. I agree, Chaotic. I'm just saying that I don't think it belongs in the Radon video. I get what Smotown's logic was. You want to kind of flesh out the place that he's defending and the master who taught him at that place. But I think it was I think it was just more of a distraction. I think it was an unnecessary addition that would have been better served in its own video, where he could talk more about the Celia, the Nox, and a bunch of other stuff in there. Hey, plus maybe if it ended up being like, I don't know, half an hour or something, that might be good, right? Some of his videos are getting really long, and I'm sure for some people might be too much. Not for me, of course, but I can imagine that might, some people missed the days when he was coming out with, like, you know, like 10-minute Pidia videos or something. Plus, if he really wanted to use that time, I feel like he could use some more stuff. I feel like he only touched lightly upon the Niall stuff. I think he could have gone a little deeper on that. Again, it's not a criticism on this video for not doing it, right? Same reason I don't think you need to go, like, he didn't... Sorry. He kept the Jaren stuff basically pretty succinct and to the point, trying to, like, counter-argue some cases people have made, and which I thought was fair. Some bizarre cases I found, like the Jaren, like, oh, well, Radon and Ronnie were actually both conspirators. Okay, the basis? Well, Jaren and EG seem to have a relationship. Yeah, Jaren stayed with Karya for a while. Do you got anything for Ronnie specifically? There's nothing really there where it's like, ah, yes. If Jaren and EG were collaborating together because Jaren was in on the conspiracy, he was doing a bad job. Might want to tell EG, oh yeah, you know, your mistress Ronnie's looking how to stop the stars of fate from freezing. Maybe I could tell you about this guy who you planted me to serve as part of the conspiracy that we're all working together on. Doesn't he have, like, the whole freezing the stars? Like, there's... It makes EG's whole, oh, how could I not see it? It was so obvious. Go from, like, okay, understandable old man to, oh my god, this is downright stupid. Umbasa, you lucky. You sneeze like a dad. Thank you. Glad to know that I'm your father. Too much for me. Too much for you, John. Well, John, if it helps, do what I do and put it on ×2 speed. Someone should clip every time Loki sneezes and make it into a compilation. Oh god, no. SC should definitely, Smotown should definitely chop down some of them videos up and do smaller topics. I think he might be better served if he does, like, short videos, or, I don't know if, like, shorts, but, like, clip videos of his longer videos. Like, he does the longer topic, but then he sort of, like, splits it up and sort of, like, maybe adds, like, a new bookend or whatever to kind of clarify. Like, maybe kind of introduce, be like, hey, this is a clip from this video. Come see the full video here or whatever, right? Like, I don't know how he wants to do it, like, in his style or whatever. But then kind of, like, showcase, like, the individual arguments. That could be cool. But yeah, I think there was just some, like, factual errors and a few things in logic where I was like, I don't agree with him on that stuff. But overall, I think it was a very good video. And the only real critique I have is the Celia stuff. I think it was too much of a departure from the main topic that wasn't really needed. Do none of y'all work while listening to video essays? I can, chaotic, but it depends on, like, what my work is at the moment, because sometimes my brain needs to focus on stuff. For me, for example, with Smotown today, yeah, I could have his video in the background and stuff, and kind of leave notes and things for it to give him feedback and stuff while I was working on other things. But if I was working on, like, if I was, like, knee-deep, for example, on having to meet a deadline or something, I wouldn't be able to split my focus that way, no. I walk in circles while listening. Good way to get your cardio. I thought Celia would have been better off as its own subject. The town certainly has enough material to stand up on its own. I agree, Platty. And again, we've talked about Celia before, right, with the migrations and stuff. I think Smotown's underlying... Oh, you're still here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, there's 6 of you in total. Anyway. I think Smotown's general idea with Celia was a bit mistaken. I think, again, because of the Elivinus stuff and among other things, I think he was too focused on this idea that gravity magic and night sorceries couldn't coexist in Celia, which I'm like, why not? Like, legitimately, like, why not? I never really got that understanding of why they were mutually exclusive. I mean, just look at Academy of Rhea Lucaria. You got, like, what, like 7 classes, all with their own thing, and sometimes with different fields of sorcery involved? So why couldn't Celia have 2 different sorceries coexisting in the same town? I don't get the logic there. It's kind of just, it seems to kind of have this, like, oh, I have the idea, and then, like, we try to, like, work backwards to prove it, it feels. Again, I don't know if that's how the process went with Smotown, but that's just the impression I get when I hear that type of argument. And it definitely feels like, it definitely just feels like he would have benefited if he had, like, if I knew there was a Celia stuff, I would be able to give him more data or evidence. I would have been able to confirm, like, the Lasat stuff for the crowns if I knew he was going to have that in there, so he wouldn't be, you know, using bad data with that crown in that case. Yeah, I always regret when it comes to Smotown's videos, because his videos always go in directions where I don't expect when it comes to the top. I'm like, oh, you're talking about this. Okay, I'll check all the stuff related to this. And then there's always, like, other things involved where I'm like, ah, darn, I could have... If you told me that this stuff was going to be in here, I could have gotten that data for you and do it. And I would really appreciate it, because it seems like we're always at this problem where you're like, oh, no. I would have loved if I knew that in advance, like with the crown thing. Like, he was a little peeved that the fact that the localization was very misleading, using the term meteor when it was a shooting star, like the stars used elsewhere. Do you tell about the stuff afterwards? Yeah, I always tell. Like, I'm never gonna leave him hanging or whatever when it comes to that type of stuff. I always want to make sure that he's the best informed, so that way he either does, if he wants to do a correction, or if he wants to, like, do something in a future video or whatever, and kind of update his thoughts because of new information. Like, he can always have it, right? I don't try to half-ass my collaborations with people. I try to give them the best of my ability, whatever they're asking of me. Smotown, for example, generally is pretty forthcoming with wanting to not just have the data I give him, but also, like, say, any observations or takes that I have. He seems to really enjoy us having that type of dialogue. Celia stuff is still unknown to me. The basics go like this. You have the mountaintops, with the astrologers living on there, right? Keep in mind, Farm Azula's here, so there's still a land bridge connecting Caelid to Mountaintops of the Giants, right? So it's all one big circle, essentially. I believe there's a river that flowed through here specifically, but that's, you know, that's besides the point. There could be a bridge. Anyway, the point is, astrologers live on the mountaintops. Well, Founding Reign of Stars happens, and now there's Brightstone that is now come down and laced around the areas. Now, there is some questions about exactly the origin and nature of this Brightstone and how it moved around, right? Because, for example, we have Gelmir here, which has, like, this red Brightstone, which could just be related to blood and stuff, because we know, like, with the blood related to the red Brightstone that's used by the Sinners here for their blood briar sorceries. But red Glintstone is also used, sorry, I say Brightstone, I should use the localization term, Glintstone, red Glintstone here, that is used by the fire people. So maybe there's a fire connection for this type of red Glintstone. I'm not sure. I have to look into that more. But we know that there's all this water and that the plateau itself has these crystal buds and whatever, right? So it seems like all this water where the crystal buds are coming down get brought all the way down here through the river. As I mentioned, you have these giant things which maybe suck up some of those, I guess, nutrients, quote-unquote, most of that. But the rest of it all flows out, and it comes into these lakes. Now, how these lakes flowed and extended before, who knows? They were probably much more controlled and not causing everything to sink originally, obviously, but the basic idea is still that, okay, all this water comes around, it coalesces here. We get the giant crystals that are forming beneath the mountain in Rea Lucaria. We have, obviously, the crystals on the edges here and various other locations and locale stuff where all this water happens to coalesce. And we seem to have something similar going on in Celia where there's a bunch of crystals and things. There's the crystal tunnels around here and all that stuff, right? So there's all this, you know, star life falls with the stars and ends up crashing and embedding itself around here. People groups from the Astrologer Ruins start migrating. So you have the Lascar come all the way here, and then they establish their settlement down here in the south, right? Then later, much later in the timeline, we'll also have Carians also moving down and taking over the west here on this plateau. And these Lascar are the people who will help establish, like, Azur, the academy and things. At the same time, more or less, we have the Celia, as we'll call them, this tribe, moving down through here. They move through Farum Azula, hence why we see conifers in Farum Azula, the green conifers contrasting with all the red trees we see here. And they come down through Caelid, where they migrate here. Again, so to give you the idea, we have spirit conifers here, because they're all killed by the giants because of avalanches and crap, right? You have the conifers, which are brought, extends to the plateau. Again, this could just be you know, natural migration, because they're all in the highlands or whatever, right? And they're pretty frequent here and stuff, so they're pretty pervasive, I should say. So it seems to be the idea of, okay, you have them on the mountaintops where they're basically exclusive, and then they move downward to the plateau, naturally, right? And then you have the tribes bringing them down from, like, north here. I think the cutoff point, if I recall, is, like, this point, right? So from here, all of this north, all the way down west, have tons of conifer plants, right? And they stand out because they're very green, unlike most plants in the lands between which the larger trees are yellow, right? You only have the mangroves here and the conifers, which are green for the bigger trees. And then you got, on this side, Farum Azula. Actually, I can pick a better location than here. Yeah, here. You got Farum Azula, which has some of these conifers, so it's like, okay, we're just passing through, right? And we'll leave some of our tree seeds behind, I guess, right? So you see here, all this. You can see it there. Green trees, then the red trees. These are the normal trees in Farum Azula. These are the invasive species. Anyway, so these conifers get brought over as they cross from Farum Azula, and then they take over Caelid, right? All of Caelid's rotten trees here are basically conifers. Same with the Lake of Rot down here, but that relates to the Caria. The Celia start migrating down here around where the Brightstone is. They go down the Deep Shiofra well, and you'll notice in this well, there's more conifers. And as you can see, it's limited to, I think, about, like, here. I think this is, like, the cutoff point, more or less. Let's try to confirm that. But basically, all these green conifers are only on this side because that's where this well is, because that's the contact point between the Nox at Nokron. And, yeah, at Nokron. And the Celia. and they collaborate together, and this results in the establishment of the town of Celia, hence why Gowry describes Celia as the descendant of the Eternal, because it's a Nox human settlement, hence why we see this unique architecture, which is associated with the Nox, like we see here in Celia, up here in Ordina, and over here in the lower quarter of Langdell, which connects to the Nameless Eternal City, right? And Ordina might be the same thing, but I haven't investigated that more deeply. Yeah, no conifers, no conifers, no conifers. Yeah, I actually, yeah, I got it exact. Yeah, conifers start right there. So, like, right at that juncture, right? So, yeah. Loki/Smotown livestream when I should actually talk to him, because I think he's doing like a was it Xavier who mentioned he's doing a podcast? I think I should check out to see if maybe I could guest on it for something or what have you. That'd be kind of cool if so. Celia is what would have happened if the astrologers decided that the altitude sickness wasn't worth the clear night sky view. Fun fact, the Lazuli Glintstone sword has the same unique charged R2 as the Karian Knight sword. Oh, that is neat. I wonder if the Lazuli class disproportionately ended up, because Renal already had her Glintstone Knights when she was establishing herself as queen, so it's probably not that. I guess you could still avert, no, because they'd probably be from Karians, right? Oh, nice, yeah, cool stuff. Again, this is why we did all that archaeobotany, right? Trying to figure out the history and migration of trees, specifically these conifers and stuff. Again, I want to give a lot of credit to Xavier and Chaotic for helping out with filling out my data on this stuff, because you guys were champs as we were trying to work out the patterns. Keep in mind, we see the same thing here at the from like this part of the village, a little bit here and here, I think, and then finally at like the end of the forest here, and then there's one tree over on Limgrave, right? So to let people be able to see this. So basically you have a similar migration pattern where basically a bunch of sorcerers they basically speed through Limgrave. They don't care about Limgrave whatsoever. They settle over here at the Demi-Human Forest ruins in the middle of Weeping Peninsula. And as we can see, the entire area has become flooded with an entire forest of conifers. Oh, guess that didn't work. And basically, we had one tree which has managed to jump across the relatively small gap from Weeping Peninsula over back to Limgrave, right? Where's that tree? Oh, I think that's that. Oh, no, this is the tree here. See? We have one single conifer in Limgrave. This single tree managed to make it through the wind, carried on the winds, up here, away from there, right? This is now where all the other conifer trees, right? And some of them made it over to the minor Erd tree area and stuff, right? But it's mostly stayed contained to just here and the pagan village up in the alien village up here, right? Which makes sense because that's probably where they had lots of interactions with the sorcerers, I mean. Let's quickly check. I want to check out the one conifer that looks like it's up top of the minor Erd tree thing completely. And to think you wanted to dismiss the conifers as Kayla as raw assets. You have to understand, Chaotic. Whenever I see that stuff, my first thought is always to be understanding and say, it could just be reusing assets, right? It could just be, they made an asset for this thing and it's not significant, right? Again, all my work with Dark Souls and Demon Souls and other things, like, that's just stuff where, like, sometimes that's all it is. And when you try to force it into something it's not, you just end up in, like, really weird and twisted places that you just are like, wow, this definitely doesn't seem right. So I'm always open to the option of saying, oh, maybe it's artistic license, maybe it's reused assets, right? But ultimately, if we can discount those options, if we can actually build like a really good, solid case for these things, I'm more than happy to embrace it. Yeah, we got this one conifer here. That's a tall tree. Wrong, it's okay to be unhinged. No, 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 we don't allow unhinged here. Control, control. Keep your mind under control, lest you become a beast. Sound like I'm Willem now. There we go. The Lazuli Conspectus are basically Kari squires training to become knights. We see this in their use of the staff and sword cast that enhance swords, or specifically with the shields and stuff. Yeah, I couldn't remember if this was the exact nature of the Lazuli, so I didn't want to kind of just seem like, oh yeah, that's where they recruited the knights from, right? Because, like, okay, well, the Glintstone Knights were already a thing. But yeah, it could be. It could be possible that some actually became knights afterwards, because we only know they number fewer than 20, and then, like, 5 or more of those, I think, are, like, troll knights, right? Because you got the one locked up. You got the one locked up by the cuckoos, right? Yeah, you got the one locked up by the cuckoos. You got, like, the 3 or 4 here, so that's, like, up 4 or 5. You got one here, right? So that's, like, 6. You got the one here, which is, like, 7. You got EG, which is 8. I think that's it. That's about 8 in total. I wanna be like Lawrence. No. Pick your role models wisely, kids. Be unhinged, smoke crack, eat ass. No. Can't be a Loki stream without falling and dying. This is so true. You should have seen the beginning of the stream. I just can't break this tradition. You'd think I was doing it on purpose, but I'm not. I'm just that bad. That means it's over 20 meters tall. Yeah, that's true, Platy. That means it's over 20 meters tall, yeah? That's true. Very good. I'm glad to know that my death served a purpose to give an estimated measurement of this tree. Lore recap of the week is nice, gosh. Let's see. Seaside Ruins. We cover the Radon stuff. The Academy basically used the Karians and Lazuli as a military force while also talking massive shit on them in their moon worship. Yeah, that would be true, wouldn't it? But the Lazuli betrayed the Karians, at least the ones here do, so... Like, how many of the Lazuli do we actually see, here? Let me check. Which is not very on brand for fantasy sorcerers. Yes, this is very on brand. Very on brand for the elitist scholar types, huh? Yeah, you're definitely bigger. God of Haz! A tree! And then the other side... A tree! Banished Knights, the BK, they love their Erd tree for some reason. Got your good old Troll Knights here. That's one Lazuli boy. That's another Lazuli boy, right? Yep. So you got 2 Lazuli boys wanting to be knights. Is that it? Are those the only Glintstone sorcerers here? Light blue and white, huh? Astrologer drip demands killing yourself. You refuse to change your starter outfit. You must die. Listen, I'm sorry that Renola stopped making women to ride you. I'm sorry. I know you were really looking forward to it, Mr. Wolf. But listen, we can't all have our fetishes realized. Wait, what's that fire made of? It looks like sorcery flame, if you ask me. Chaotic. Come on, Nardi, get with the program. Look at all that magic fire. That magical blue fire. The manor braziers. It's interesting that the Falling Star Beast jaw mentions gravitational lightning. In fact, I think all the gravitational spells make electricity sounds and have similar visual effects. I wonder if gravity, then, is the equivalent to lightning with gold, and what that possibly means for the deeper implications. Falling Star Beast Jaw is a weapon. Do you remember which kind of weapon, Xavier? Like, is it a hammer or something? Yeah, you hit that wall. You hit that wall, Sir Knight. Ow. Ah! Ow. I'm actually kind of surprised that hit. Why is it burning wood? What the fuck, Renola? What? I mean, don't you burn your flames by wrapping up your torches in oiled up cloth and firewood? How did you think that fire burns? Magical blue flames, chaotic. Colossal sounds right. It makes sense that the sequel to Dark Souls 2 would also have a minor obsession with braziers. Alright, let's go to the graveyard. So we can go downstairs and check to see if it's true for the flames at the bottom here. Alright, so you have all these graves for the BK, hence why Renola and company don't care about getting that. Ooh, interesting how this one's a little bit bigger than the average. I think I recall seeing that somewhere else and noting it being kind of odd, so kind of cool to see that here. Wonder if these bigger ones are for heroes or something. DS2 is greatest of all time. Huh? Greatest of all time at being shit, sure. Oh, no, there's magic fire down here, too. So, yeah, it's the entire area. Sakaria uses magic blue flames to boast, I guess. To show off. They're like, ah, this academy. Too busy studying magic to use magic flames. We'll show them. Yeah, I can't tell if those vines are hiding an Erdtree crest or not. Somber smithing stone. crack is this clan smoking that they burn rocks for red flame and burn blue flames with wood? Wow, that's really effective. That's actually kind of surprising. Also, I'm noticing the crystals here. I didn't realize that I didn't register last time I was here. Huh. Purple flowers. Woo. Rhine Crystal Bud, huh? I wonder why this is here. Gosh, those are the Carians are from the mountaintops. Oh, wow, you fell all the way down, huh? Oh, right. Oh, yes, I thought I was out of range of that grab. Oh. Main Caria Manor Gate. Manor lower level, manor upper level. Well, that stuff matters to us. Because the manor is cold, duh. Don't stop being correct about DS2. Stop the DS2 slander. Listen, you guys bring up DS2 in my chat, I can't help myself. So stop doing it. I don't want to just shit talk DS2 every stream. Even though it deserves it, like a redheaded stepchild. Sainted Heroes Grave? Multi-stemmal. We got the Falling Star Beast here. We got the one up there. Yeah, let me quickly do this comparison. Where? Around here, if I recall correctly. Yes, you do. It's my fault Elden Ring screams DS2 too at so many parts. That's Elden Ring's fault. Elden Ring needs to stop taking all of DS2's good ideas and bad ones. Yeah, this is about the size of the small ones we see at the Academy. Okay, I'm for some reason I remembered the Academy one being one of the larger giant ones, but I guess it's not at the Academy. You know, that might explain it, because I vaguely recall that not being on my list originally, and I was like, no, of course it's the giant one at the Academy, right? So we gotta fix that. We gotta fix that. Wait. I thought the golem was dead. Am I crazy, chat? Did I smoke something? All my homies love Tanimura's ideas. I made brioche bread today, and it's so good, but it's not dinner. Ah, you made brioche bread? Congrats, Chaotic. I'm telling you already, I love brioche. I like brioche buns for my burgers and stuff, especially when you slightly toast them. And I just think brioche by itself is just, it's a great treat to have. Okay, yeah, so for some reason the low poly stuff shows the golem alive, even though he's obviously dead when you kill him forever. Also, how did the Misbegotten break the towers? Like, hello? That seems like a lot of work for a rebellion that's currently, like, you know, I should say currently, constantly in progress. I made it with vanilla cream. Ooh. I think the Folly Star Beast Jaw is the only place that mentions lightning. I think some other place mentions a weighty magic. Let me double check this while we're here. So let's see. Let's get to the Elden Ring wiki. Then we'll look through the Japanese stuff on that, and it should hopefully have the skill that we're looking for. So let's go to weapons. Oh no, actually they have all the subtypes here listed on the side. That's cool. Okay, you said it was colossal, right? So I'm looking for ultra, yeah, ultra great weapon. Giant crusher. Ah, here it is. Star Beast head. Yeah, that looks about right. Alright, just gotta... Let's look at the description.
Ideographic.
What the hell? Alrighty. That was weird. Anyway, let's look now. Yeah, so it's got like a black light glowing. Yeah. So it's got this glowing black look to it, I guess. So there's some light there for sure. Now let's see if there's lightning. Where's the skill? Because it's not listed here. Here it is. Yeah, you know, just look at the name. It says Gravity Lightning, so... Yeah, just the name of this skill says lightning, so... Yeah. It's probably lightning. Yeah, so let's see. Star Beast, Jaw Portion, yeah, Harper's Lightning of Gravity, huh? Then it has a lightning strike, or, you know, more literally means like falling lightning, but... Yeah, so for its battle art... Yeah, I remember this attack it does. So, okay, so... Yeah, there's a gravity lightning. And it's 100% just lightning. That is interesting. Considering we see now lightning being mainly used by dragons. But this would tell us that... It tells us that it's a power not exclusive to dragons. It can also be used by the creatures of the stars. Huh. Can't survive a DS2 conversation when actual people exist. Loki smoked that Karia Blue Rock. Yeah, I clearly, man. I'm looking at... I was smoking those fumes. And I was seeing golems out in the distance. That don't exist. Don't remind, you always have Nobray to talk to in the Discord. You guys are great tonight. I love you. Alright. Artist Shack. Sunwater Village outskirts. I think that covers everything we can cover then today, chat. I'm trying to think if there's anything where like, yes, I really want to look. We already basically did like a glance over with like the tunnels as I was going through in my head, each of the ones we had, and Morty, remember most of them? Yeah, we just did Altus Tunnel the other day, so that's fine. There's none in Gelmir. I guess we could do Yellow and East one more time. It doesn't hurt. There's no tunnel up here, right? Yeah, it's just caves. Yeah. Okay. Caves and catacombs. Maybe that explains the dragon stuff in Yellow and East Tunnel. Maybe it's supposed to relate to Estelle. Maybe. Could be. Oh, just a miner. Just a frozen miner. Pay it no heed. Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, like you said, Xavier, don't we hear lightning right now with the whole Lord thing, right? Yeah, we do. It sparks. It makes electric sounds. Is there some sort of lightning involved with gravity? Because what is an electric shock? It's what happens when there's a transference of energy, I think, between 2 points, right? So, like, if I had, like, an electric, like a static shock between my 2 fingers or whatever, I would be seeing it go from one finger to the other. Like, again, just assume, like, I have my fingers, like, clasped together, but the actual finger is separated. So it would be something like that, where you would essentially have a bolt of lightning going from one place to the other to signal the transfer of that energy. With the dragons, we see that they have the power of primordial lightning, and they are, at least in my current conception of the cosmology, essentially the first living things ever to exist. They're the thing that the Elden Ring first imbued its power into when it imbued into the rock, and that power of golden life shaped them into a being reflective of the Elden Beast, which of course has a very draconic form. Hence, the ancient dragons as a species. And then from there, the ancient dragons procreate, and slowly disparity has them evolve into the various animal life that we're familiar with today, right? Is the lightning that the dragons have then a result of that energy from the Elden Ring at the very beginning of creation transferring into them, and so they have that natural power to draw upon that and obviously it's red because primordial lightning and all that, right? So it's the idea is that it's such powerful, such thick, such great powers of gold within them that it creates this red lightning that they can draw out. What is anise? Did they just misspell annex? No, Platy. If I recall correctly, anise is a type of seed for a plant. So what it's essentially saying is it is the seed of yellow, right? The joke being, of course, this is ground zero for the frenzied flame plague, right? This is the first town that was afflicted by frenzied flame, right? And the idea, again, keep in mind, the idea with the frenzied flame is that you have all these nomadic people, all the the Great Caravan. They all get locked up by Marika during the era of the Crucible. Oh god, no. Oh, never mind. He took a lot longer to finish his little walk out of that portal, huh? Anyway, they get locked up by Marika. They end up cursing their fate, just as Shiburi wanted, so they call upon the they call upon the Three Fingers and stuff, and the power of the Outer God of Chaos. As a result of it, their prayers are answered, and the frenzied flame enters all their skulls. Now, initially, I was somewhat shaky on whether or not that meant that all of them became afflicted, like everyone in the caravan, even those who might not have been captured were afflicted by the flame, or if all those who we see outside that are still around are if there were any stragglers who didn't get caught up and captured underground by Marika, or if when it says the whole clan, it literally means the whole clan, and those we see outside are all afflicted with the frenzy. As Xavier's confirmed for us, the only ones who actually seem to be afflicted with the frenzy are those who play music, right? So those when you hear them play the little violin lute thing, right? And obviously they have a similar song that gets played when they're when we get underground here. But anyway, they're all locked up, right? So they're all trapped, and they're not. And we only seem to see a handful escape at any given time. But what we do see consistently when we go to Yellow Anise, when we go to Yellow Anise, when we go to the Frenzied Flame village here, when we go to the Ailing village here, what's one common factor we find besides the people infected by the Frenzied Flame? Rats. Rats infected with Frenzied Flame. So much like the Black Plague, it seems to be the idea that rats, which you can also find in sewers and stuff, right? They crawl through the little corners and holes and crevices, and they manage to squeeze their way around through anything, right? Kind of like cockroaches. The idea is that these guys, they get infected by the plague that the people trapped in underground do. Then they, where are they? Yeah, and then those rats then start spreading around, and like sometimes they end up, say, in this village, and now they infect everyone in that village, and sometimes they end up in this village, and they end up in that village, or maybe they end up in this village. Oh, well, no, the cuckoos purified that village. There's nothing frenzy alive there, right? And then same thing here. This was Ground Zero. This is why the Eyes of Yellow are called that, because it's named after Yellow Anise, and Yellow Anise is called that because its name basically means the seed of yellow, which of course is a reference to the yellow flame of frenzy. Rats love eyeballs. I guess they do like nibbling on corpse parts, yeah. Yes, all gravity stuff has sparks and lightning sound, if I'm not mistaken. That adds a new wrinkle then. Because then if let's say that what I said about the dragons is correct, then gravity, which is again, it's associated with magnetism, this idea of push and pull, of relations between two things, right? Like you and I'm manipulating that bond between us to pull you closer to me or push you farther from me, etc. Right? There's this idea of relations, which is constantly sort of interacting with everything, right? My relation to this here, to this pillar, to this wood, to this barrel, to that box, right? All of that all has some sort of relation to me with which I can interact in this world. And obviously the idea of gravity is that gravity is affecting all of us, right? Gravity affects all of us, so that way we all stay firmly planted where we belong in this, as we are now, right? So there comes technically even gravity just is the relationship between yourself, between the object and everything in reality with the ground beneath us, right? So if that is something that's manipulated by the stars and star life, and something with which we can manipulate to cause some sort of sparks of lightning or electricity or something like that, it makes me wonder if gravity is essentially the star equivalent of lightning with gold, and all of that has to do with that power of lightning all relates to the relations between existence and non-existence, between the greater will and the stars and the world of Earth, which then ties back again to that gravity idea, that gravity is all about the ground beneath our feet, right? Because the Earth, the rock, is all of reality which existed at the beginning, right? When it was the one great. And then the greater will, which existed, which didn't exist, right? The greater will is abstraction, it is thought, it is conception, it is imaginary. It does not exist in that same realm as the one great, but it fills the gaps with which the one great did not. Similar to, again, Rock and Fog in Dark Souls' cosmology. And then the greater will sends down the golden star, which becomes the Elden Bee/Elden Ring, right? And that imbues the power that kicks up a bunch of rocks. Because again, currently my working idea is that I think that the stars and the rocks and the glintstone and all that stuff originally came from the lands between. When it crash landed down here, it kicked up all that rock, and all that rock, like this stuff, went up into the sky, similar to what we see with Kenneth and the falling star there, right? But it kicks it all up into the sky, and that stuff ends up in the void of the cosmos. It ends up in the realm of the greater will, which again I've said before I believe is the sun. and that becomes the moons and stars and all that stuff. They just become these pieces and bodies of rock, which then stew in that with the power of gold, right? Because the idea is gold is the amber of life and all that stuff. So that life of gold ends up going with that rock up in the stars, and those become the stars, which, because they're connected to both the Elden Ring and to this earth on here, they represent that power of disparity, which was introduced by the interaction between the gold of the greater of non-existence and the rock of existence. Though that interaction together creates a bond with the stars, which have elements of both to it. So therefore, the Elden Ring can govern the stars, the flow of the stars, and how they do so, and the stars govern the fates of things that exist on this earth, right? So people, individuals in grander areas, the concepts of disparity such as chaos, rot, etc., and all of that ties together to get down to this point of the gravity may be therefore the relations between maybe the relations the stars have with each other, but of course the stars have with this earth and the rock. Anyway, sorry, that's a huge tangent, but just kind of working through my thoughts now, trying to incorporate gravity now into this existing understanding of the cosmology. Rats are the descendants of crystal lizards. Here, dropping some fake rat lore. This is all just frozen. You have smithing stones, sick. Okay, wait. You're pretty close to. Okay, you are pretty close to the plateau. Understandable. I will accept that. Smithing stone 8. That makes sense, because again. Breathe, man, breathe! No, I cannot breathe. I have to think. My thoughts, they must be fully actualized. Good to know. It's probably where like the ancient dragon stone or whatever was. The stone 9 or the somber stone 9, if I had to guess, or something like that. Man, you never have to worry about bouncing off with magic swords, huh? Wow, think, Loki, think. The 9 was in one of the rooms with these stone skins kings, gotcha. It was one with the alabaster onyx lords, gotcha. Probably closer to where Estelle is, knowing how this game likes to balance stuff. Yeah, outside that gravity stuff that we just kind of stumbled upon. Bless me. Lord's gonna have to be sending some extra angels today. And we're back here. So you have all these mining tools. And then we got ourselves our meteor here, right? Half of it's buried in the ice, of course. Almost has this like flame-like properties. It's got like this fire inherent in it. This also goes to my idea that I think fire and power of gold and light and stuff are more interconnected, and that Miyazaki basically just found a way to backdoor in Dark Souls cosmology. Just with a new coat of paint by saying, be distracted by the glowing golden tree. Don't think about what's behind the curtain. Bro's gonna get that one throat-wrecking sneeze and he'll be going on a steep decline. Don't say that. Oh, also, guys, I was able to confirm there's 4 of these assassin inside the area that are invisible. Just so you know. Haley Tree Canopy, Haley Tree Plaza, Haley Tree Promenade, Prayer Room, Drainage Channel, Haley Tree Roots, El Fayal. Okay, I gotta look at the town again. One of these days, it's gonna make sense to me. The only thing I can think of is that oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Well, it's fine. I didn't want to load my game anyway. I didn't want to load my game anyway. Again, Miyazaki put a brick in Soul Magic and called it Brightstone. I could see it. Loki ASMR sneeze stream. No. I like the fact that Miyazaki took Soul Magic from DS and just put a fucking light up brick in it and called it a new concept. Yeah, he basically did that, huh? Yeah, when you think about it like that, yeah. Because let's say the gold / runes are analogous to souls, right? So then all of that came from one source, which was the Golden Star, which was basically the first flame, right? And it became the Elden Ring. So let's just say the Elden Ring is basically the first flame. It spread its gold around that caused disparity, that split up the universe, right? They added some of that Bloodborne mix in there, so some of it became like you had this whole Cosmos shtick going on, but there's already that existing in Dark Souls if you've read Abyssal Archive, right? So there is a little bit of that already at play. Yeah. They crashed the moment I looked away from my screen. Yeah, I think we're just going to quickly check like one thing and then we're going to end it here. I think the crash was actually timely. Yeah, but then, so you have, like, these souls which spread out into the world and spreading through and creating life, and they create these dragons, and these dragons procreate and eventually create new life, which becomes new life, and they become all these different species of living things here. But again, you have to have the cosmos thing in here, so instead of explaining that that's how humanoid races came about, you instead have this thing where, like, you have the humanoid races that exist from the stars, and these star people come down, called the Newmen, and they're the ones who procreate with the dragons to create the humans that we're familiar with, right? So you have this kind of new little wrinkle there, right? So like, there's a few differences, but yeah, it's I could definitely be like, yeah, okay, they literally just take souls, they literally just take fire, they literally just take the idea of sunlight and the sun and all that stuff, and just give it a slightly new coat of paint and just try to pawn it off to you as something entirely new. I can definitely see that. But to be fair, you can make the same case with Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but Demon Souls and Dark Souls still had some very important key differences despite some of the terminology similarities, right? So they end up being very different worlds. So I could see Elden Ring, especially when we get into the cosmos with the lights and the dreams and stuff. I could see it becoming very different from Bloodborne and Dark Souls, cosmologically speaking. You sound fucking dead explaining this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, nerdy. Maybe I'm just tired. Hey, what was it that I want to check again? Oh yeah, Agil. Where's that? I will do it from here. Let's get you to bed, Grandma.
No, I refuse. This is why I don't visit my grandkids. They just want to put me into a home.
If you read Abyssal Archive, nice plug. Well, if you ever want to read the most consistent, comprehensive, and comprehensible account of Dark Souls, please click the link in your description, go to the buy page, and check out Abyssal Archive. $20 for digital edition, if I recall correctly. For that low price of $20, you can own a digital copy of the greatest lore account of Dark Souls 1 ever to be put to paper. Yes, all these are regular trees. Nothing to worry about here. Then you got the burnt part. Yeah, we get it. Feral Flame, blah, blah. This stuff actually has Japanese subtitles in the dialogue script files. That's actually kind of hilarious to think about. We got the small graveyard for the town. I actually see some signs of fire at the top of one of these towers. I think this is the only tower that does that. That's kind of cool. Also, that's cute. You're trying to regrow your leaves. This is like Godric's stomping ground! This entire south area has red flowers and blue flowers. If you remember the picture I sent on Discord, that's true. You did mention that. We had a conversation on that. Let's see. Let us progress. So we got one knight, a bunch of spearmen and stuff. Yeah, so this is like, okay, these are them hanging people for examples. I guess one old Sun Capital boy didn't make it. So we don't care about that stuff. This is where we got the deserters, right? They're hiding out there. Then we got ourselves some jellyfish before the catacombs. Some purple flower mixes. Some red flower mixes. And pinkish flower mixes in there too. Then we got those who live in death alongside this rotted meat. Which is what immediately had me think that this was also related to those who live in death, but it doesn't seem to be the case. They seem more related to the rotting quote-unquote corpses, the hollows. It looks like they just dumped the bodies here. As we can see, some of those apparently have already risen because of death blight and crap. A bunch of normal bodies. Again, more of these crawling carrion. Yeah, and this just seems to be a result of bodies getting dropped here, right? So it's unclear to me how, again, I'm still a bit vague on how exactly death is supposed to work in this universe, but it seems to be the idea that you can be not really dead, but basically kind of like in a dormant state. I guess it's kind of like when we loot the souls of hollows from corpses, quote-unquote. Are those actually corpses, or are those just hollows that haven't yet risen yet, right? Like they're still in the process of their revival when we come and pluck the souls from them, right? But it seems to be the idea that you have a bunch of these bodies or whatever, right? Like there's people that Godric and people basically say, okay, you're dead weight to us. We dump them down here in this ravine, right? And it goes to like, yeah, it's this entire section between here, right? So basically you get dumped here with what gets called the Murkwater quote-unquote river because, well, when you dump enough bodies down here, it's gonna be a little dirty. These are the catacombs for the Murky River. So basically, they couldn't even bother to give them proper Erdtree burial. They just dumped the bodies down here, it seems. And some of them, at least the flesh of them that got, like, I don't know, like, shaved off or whatever, turns into they coalesce to become the crawling carrion, right? Because, again, emotions have power and curses and crap like that, right? And you got a few here which turn to those who live in death, like those over here. I guess because there's Erdtree roots here that are connected to Death Root, question mark? Granted, we find all these graves and stuff here, so maybe I should be surprised if we find some caves with those who live in death. Is this an area with Skelly Boys? I don't remember. I just remember seeing gargoyles. Okay, yeah, I don't think there's those who live in death. Yeah, this one's clear. Okay. So it's all the death root stuff's only around here. So it's here and here. It's basically everywhere but the catacombs somehow. That'll probably change. The water here flows south to north? Oh, I wasn't looking at the water, but let's double check, sure. Lots of water, huh? If I recall correctly, it goes in two directions. Like, the water basically comes up where the catacombs are. You have water that goes this way over to dump into the ocean. Then you have the water that goes to dump into Agiel Lake. Again, what's the significance? I don't know. Because we don't see a good, obvious cause for there being pockets of water down below that are dumping stuff like this. Here we go. Here's the one thing. And yeah, it goes all the way over there. Alright, like I said, I'm tired. I probably need to get going and sleep. So let's go and do that. Alright, time to do my thing. Yeah. Hey, buddy. Curious to consider, at least the geography there is sort of weird. It is. And that's my problem with, like, lakes and rivers and stuff, is I don't know what the source is. And that's, again, one part. This doesn't cause any crystal buds to appear. But we see it all throughout here in Liurnia, seemingly from the water, which traces all the way back up to Altus Plateau, where we find crystal buds all around here. So what's going on here, right? That's my question. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff here. And then you have Rhine crystal buds. So this is where now, okay, we just have the same thing with the crystal buds, except now it's icy. Anyway, let's all get to sleep now. Wait, are the jelly ones the only appear at night? I never noticed. Oh, the Heart of Aeonia flowers. I never noticed that. Cool to know. Cool, we found it, Xavier. I don't recall. I think they're here at all times, but I don't remember. Anyway, we'll have to check that for that stuff next time, because I am tired. So we're going to consider just an oversight or intentional design that the ruins also have here at basements, because the basement doesn't work in a swamp or wetlands in general. Keep in mind, the water overflowing here is probably because it's in ruins, right? So there's nothing one to control the water, so the water just acts under control. No one's like diverting it or whatever, so it just kind of overflows. That's usually the reason for why these places are flooded the way they are. Anyway, I'm going to sleep now, guys, so bye-bye.